You've heard this already, but hey, it's Christmas. We ought to read the Christmas story more than once. Matthew 1, starting at 18. This is how the birth of Jesus Christ came about. His mother Mary was pledged to be married to Joseph, but before they came together, she was found to be with child through the Holy Spirit. Because Joseph, her husband, was a righteous man and did not want to expose her to public disgrace, he had in mind to divorce her quietly. But after he had considered this, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream and said, Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary home as your wife, because what is conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. She will give birth to a son, and you are to give him the name Jesus, because he will save people from their sins. All of this took place to fulfill what the Lord had said through the prophet. The virgin will be with child, and will give birth to a son. And they will call him Emmanuel, which means God with us. When Joseph woke up, he did what the angel of the Lord had commanded him, and took Mary home as his wife. But he had no union with her until she gave birth to a son. And he gave him the name Jesus. May God add a blessing to the reading out of Matthew tonight. You may be seated. Am I right? Christmas wouldn't be the same without a Christmas tree. Come on, think about it. When you were little, the Christmas tree was a big deal, wasn't it? Right. And even those of you that raised children, the Christmas tree was a big deal. I mean, think about it. We had a special place in the house with the Christmas tree, right? The Christmas tree is the beacon of Christmas. The Christmas tree is important. I can remember growing up in central Pennsylvania, my father, who was a rural guy, hunter, knew the mountains really well. And so we would always go and cut our Christmas tree. And so we would go out, and it got to the point where the trees were so big, we would cut tops out of trees. And we would drag it, usually through snow, home and do what we had to get it in the house. The long needle pine tree. Here's how my parents, though, are. We moved to North Carolina. Now, again, I grew up and never knew that you bought a tree on a lot. What? Christmas tree lot? What? No. So, they were so well creative. The first 2 years we lived in North Carolina, they drove back to Pennsylvania, cut a tree, put it on top of the car, and drove it to North Carolina. That's how I grew up. But then it was, by the time I got to high school, they had decided, we're not going to drive back for a tree, we're going to buy one on a lot. I remember going to the Christmas tree lot. It just seemed so odd to go pick out a Christmas tree. But that's what we did. And I ended up, working in the office club, and we sold trees for a fundraiser. So I did that thing which was so odd to me just a few years earlier. The Christmas tree, though. It is a beacon. It's that important thing. When you move into a house, you look at things, right? This is a bedroom, oh, this is a kitchen. Oh, that'd be a nice kitchen. Where are we going to put the tree? Have you ever done that? We did that. July, we moved into a parsonage, July, whatever, 1 or 2 years ago, and we looked at this, and before we put the office, where are we going to put the tree? It's important. The tree is important. How about, do y'all have special ornaments you put on the tree? You've got that special ornament you put. Rhonda has some special ornaments. One of them is a Steeler ornament, a penguin. She has in East Carolina. It's amazing. Amazing. I married someone that has all those special ornaments. Yeah, special ornaments. And we have a special place on the tree for them. Eye level, mid heights, Steeler Pirates penguin.
Yes.
And then when I was little, I had a special ornament. It was an ornament of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Now, I never necessarily liked Rudolph any better than any other character growing up, but I think it was one of those you couldn't break. I think that give him Rudolph, you won't break it. So Rudolph became the ornament I always put on the tree growing up. But the Christmas tree is important, and it's interesting that we go out and we get a tree and we put it up, and then we watch the needles fall and we take it out, and the tree actually goes back really to where it came, and it goes back into the earth. There's a story of a young boy who his dad has been laid off. He's out of work, it's tough times, recession, and the mother says to him, this year we either have a tree or a few gifts. You have to choose. And he didn't like the choice. I don't know. What do I want? A few gifts? Well, I want a tree. So he decided, he's living out, and so he decided he would hike down a couple miles to the next farm and ask the farmer, could he cut a tree off of his farm? Of course, that farmer knew the family, knew the situation, and said, sure, you can cut a tree. So he hiked another mile and 3/4, up into the woods to cut a tree. There he finds the right tree. He stares at the tree. This tree, he's going to take its life, but it's going to give he and his family life. He cuts the tree, puts it on his sled, and drags it. There's a lot to a tree, a Christmas tree. There's a lot to the whole symbolism of the tree. So tonight, this sermon may be a little bit about tree hunting. Let's see. You know, it's interesting, the whole birth story is something that, you know, we all know and we can recite a lot of it. And for us, you know, in the 21st century, we may want to give this story to Hollywood. Let's let Hollywood tell us the story. I mean, think about it. Joseph might be, according to Hollywood, Joseph might be a little bit too blue collar. Joseph needs to be somebody with a strong jaw and handsome. How about George Clooney? He would be a good choice. And Mary, I mean, we can't have Mary be like that. I mean, she's way too inexperienced, way too young to be Mary. I think maybe somebody that has, you know, maybe a beauty mark, some glistening teeth. Angelina Jolie, Jennifer Lawrence. Anybody be good Mary? How about the shepherds? We should have the shepherds singing. Maybe the Gaithers could be the shepherds. Or maybe Bono and U2. Maybe some group like that could be the shepherds. Yeah, that would be good. And we can't have it in a stall where there's animals. I mean, you can't put a baby where a donkey's been eating. Or maybe where the cow has been. No, instead of a stable, maybe a palace. Maybe a Roman palace. Or maybe a Greek villa. That might be a good place. That would be a good place for the baby boy. And who should come see the baby? Let's not think astrologers. Let's think emperors. Let's think heads of state. That's who should come see Jesus. Maybe even Moses and Abraham. Maybe even Adam and Eve. See, that's how Hollywood might design this story. Maybe even we would design it that way because we can understand that. It makes sense to us to do it that way. But see, that's the thing. We didn't make this story. God made it. And because God made it, God had His Son come into the world exactly like He wanted to. In fact, we don't even know when He came into the world. It was so important we didn't write it down. Christmas, Jesus' birth, was celebrated in March, June, July. It's been celebrated in a lot of different months because we just don't know the date. So in the 4th century, the church fathers got together and said, you know, we've got to get a date. How about December 25th? Sure. And so after the 4th century, we have been celebrating Christmas, Jesus' birth, on December 25th. We have made much bigger deals out of a lot lesser comings. So the question would be, is that a mistake? Or is that the message? Maybe your life's a little bit like a Bethlehem stable. Maybe it's crude in some spots, smelly in others. Maybe some of your friends are like the animals that graze, not always neat. Maybe they're stubborn like donkeys. Maybe that cow reminds you of your next door neighbor. Yeah. And you, like Joseph, have had doors slammed in your face. You maybe were too late, too old, too damaged, too peculiar. And so the door didn't stay open. The door got slammed in your face. And so you had a leaky roof and the winter air poured through the cracks in your house on the cold nights. And you wonder, because of the experiences I've had, does God really have a place for me? Do I have a place in this story? And you find the answer in the Bethlehem stable. J.B. Phillips was an English translator, a clergyman, scholar, Bible scholar. He's not with us anymore. He died in the 80s. But he had an analogy of two angels that were flying around the universe. And they would come to different galaxies and they would talk about it. But anyway, they came to our solar system. And the senior angel says, this is a special solar system. Really? Why? Yeah, because look down there. That planet. Look at that planet. Yeah, it looks a little grimy to me, a little primitive. Yeah, well that is, the senior angel says, that is the visited planet. What? That grimy planet with those creepy crawly creatures down there? That's the one that was visited by the Prince of Peace? Yes, that was visited. And he probably wouldn't like you calling them creepy crawly creatures. Because as odd as that is to you, he loves them. He cares for them. You mean the fifth planet? He went there? Yes. And he loves them so very, very much. And that's really what the story of Christmas really is about. The story of Christmas is about God's relentless love for us. His relentless love for us. We make it hard sometimes. We do things that, God, you can't love me when I do that. Yes, I love you. And we don't always like His actions, do we? We don't always like His actions. We don't always like His decisions. We for sure don't like His timing. But we cannot for a second doubt the unquenchable thirst He has to love us. We can't debate that. Because the moment that Mary touched God's face, recognizing that He was willing to be born in a barnyard, that there was nothing that we could do that would keep Him from falling. No matter how bad it smells, how bad it looks, no matter what our status is, no matter, there is nothing that can keep God from us. The Christmas promise is we have a Savior, and His name is Jesus. And think about it. Think about how He acted around those people that we would say did have some struggles. How about the woman in Samaria? 5 husbands. They all threw her out like trash. The 6th one wasn't even going to marry her. She came to get water in the middle of the day because she didn't want any of her friends to see her there. Her acquaintances, any people to see her there. So she came in the middle of the day. Who's waiting for her? Jesus. And Jesus, because of the way He looked at her and cared for her, healed her and helped her. How about the demon-possessed man that was in the cave that was mutilating himself with a rock because there was a demon inside him? The demon inside of him was making him hurt himself. But one word from Jesus and he was healed. How about Zacchaeus? The wee little man up in the trees had swindled enough money from his own people and others that he built a wonderful retirement. But he would have given anything for a clean conscience and a friend. And the day he went to lunch with Jesus, he got both. Yes, that is the Jesus that is born on this night. But Jesus makes it difficult sometimes. He's got calloused hands. He has an accent. And he tends to doze off when he's on a boat. And sometimes he won't eat. He's very thirsty and hungry. That's who we worship. That's who loves us. And just when it seemed that he had his life just about ready to get a crown, he gets a cross. That's interesting. We call the cross a tree. Now, we're not exactly sure why we call it a tree. Maybe the first crosses were trees. Maybe it's because crosses are made out of trees. But either way, the first century calls crosses trees. Peter says in 1 Peter 2:24, He bore our sins in His own body on a tree. Remember the story I started earlier about the little boy who found a tree that gave its life for his. Well, we pick up a tree also, don't we? See, our tree starts with the tree of knowledge in the Garden of Eden and ends with the tree of life in heaven. But in between, on this timeline, is the most beautiful of all trees. It's that rugged tree that found its place on Calvary. That's the most beautiful tree. Jesus endured what really was ours. He paid a price to save us. In the manger, God loved us enough to send His Son and allow us to go home with Him. But we're not home yet. We're here. So why is that? Because He has work for us to do. He has things for all of us to do, from the very young to the very old. I don't excuse the elderly. You all that come to Sylvan Abbey know that, don't you? We stay active. Yeah, because God has a plan for you. God has you doing things that help Him build His kingdom. But in doing things for Him, what does He do? He prunes us. He clips us. What He does is He takes an axe to our prejudices, and He clips away our self-pity. And when our character gets out of tilt, you might just hear Him fire up the Black & Decker. Jesus said in John 15, "My Father is the gardener. He trims and cleans every branch that produces fruit so that it will produce more fruit." And once He stabilizes us, He decorates us. Now, how does He decorate us? Well, He adorns us with the fruits of the Spirit. Let's say them fast. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Those are the gifts that He adorns you with. Those are the gifts He places on you. He gives to you love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Those are what He adorns us with. He crowns us. And most of us do what? On our Christmas tree we put what? We put a star or an angel. But for us, God gives us both. He gives us angels to surround us and protect us and guide us. And He gives us a star that we can follow right here in these pages. Woo! Might need to read this book one day. It's a good one. See, we are the distribution point for God's gifts. He gives us gifts and we distribute them to others. We are never empty-handed when we call on God. And some people gain salvation through that. Some other gifts are a kind word, a good deed. But all of those are gifts from God. So when you're out searching for a tree, did you buy the first one? Even if it was an artificial tree, did you get the first one? No, you have to stand it up and spin it around, look all around, make sure it's trimmed right. Is it the right height? Are there too much spaces in between? No, we look at the tree and we pick the one we decide on. The one, none of them are perfect, but we pick the one that we love. And God does the same thing. He looks at us. He spins us around. He knows we're not perfect. But He picks and chooses you and has things for you to do because He has a living room too that you belong in. He has a room that needs some color. He has a room that needs some of your gifts. And He knows what room that is. And He can send you to that place. God knows where we need to be. So He selects it. King David says, Psalm 139, "You made my whole being. You formed me in my mother's body. I praise You because You made me in an amazing and wonderful way. What You have done is wonderful." Christmas invites us to believe the wildest of promises. God became one of us so we could become one with Him. God became one of us so we could become one with Him. Boy, that's a mantra you can take the hill with. God became one of us so we could become one with Him. He did away with every barrier that comes in our way. Every fence, sin, death, grave, all of that He did away with. Anything that might keep us from Him has been demolished. So, He awaits a word to walk through the door. So we should invite Him in, escort Him in, put Him at the seat of honor, pull out a chair, clear the table, clear the calendar, call the kids and neighbors. Jesus is here. We call it Christmas. Christmas is here. Christ is here. Listen as God whispers, no mess turns me away from you. No smell turns me off. I live to live in a life like yours so you can live in a life like mine. Woo! Come on, people! Every heart can be amazing. Every day can be Christmas. We sing Christmas carols at this time of year. We ought to sing them in the summer.
Yes.
We shouldn't wait for the Advent season where it goes from 80 to 70 here in Florida. That brisk autumn chill that we suffer through here. The Christmas miracle should be a year-long celebration. That's who we are. That's who people want to see in us. When they see you walk in here, they want to see you walk out celebrating Christmas when it's July. Not being hypocritical because it didn't go your way. May this prayer be yours tonight and throughout 2017. Like the stable in which you lay, my heart is simple, frail as hay. But if you would within my stay, make your heart my manger, I pray. Make my world your Bethlehem, centerpiece with heaven's sun. Make this night a shepherd's sky, quick and bright with the holy God. Rush the air with cherub wings, brush this earth. Let angels sing a glimpse of your face, a taste of your grace. Tonight, this night, be born in this place. Amen. Merry Christmas. Amen.